Listen closely. This is the moment your story begins again. For too long, you've been running, chasing shadows that never turn into substance, fighting for approval that's always just out of reach. You've poured yourself into empty wells, hoping they'd fill you back up, but all you've gotten is the echo of your own exhaustion. Stop. Breathe. Hear me now. The only one who can stop the cycle is you. How long have you been living this way? Waiting for them to see you, waiting for them to validate what you already know deep down, that you matter, that your existence is worthy, even if no one claps for it. How much of yourself have you given away, piece by piece, to people who only noticed you when they needed something? Tell me, how much of your soul has been spent trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you? It's time to stop running. Do you see what they've done? They've made you believe that if you work harder, bend further, give more of yourself, you'll finally earn a place in their eyes. But the truth is, they will never see you, not the real you. They see what you give, what you do, what you sacrifice, but they don't see your essence. They don't see your heart. And yet, you keep chasing, hoping that this time they'll turn around and you'll finally be enough for them. But let me ask you, when is enough enough? Look at yourself. Look at the tired lines under your eyes, the weight of disappointment etched into your posture. Feel the ache in your chest, the hollow space where your spirit used to burn bright. You've become a stranger to yourself, haven't you? You barely recognize the reflection in the mirror. Somewhere along the way, you traded your fire for their approval. You silenced your voice just to hear their applause. But what did it get you? A fleeting nod, a passing glance, and when the applause faded, who was left to pick up the pieces of you? Wake up! This is your life we're talking about. Every moment you spend chasing someone else's approval is a moment that's stolen from your own becoming. You're not here to prove your worth to people who wouldn't recognize gold if it was in their hands. You're here to rise, to claim the space you were born to occupy, to step into the fullness of who you are without asking for permission. Do you hear me? Stop asking for permission to exist. Stop giving them the power to define your value. They've convinced you that the chase is necessary. They've tied your worth to their whims, and you've swallowed the lie. But here's the truth. The chase is a trap. It's a game you will never win, because the rules keep changing. They keep moving the finish line, and you keep running, thinking that if you just try harder, you'll finally get there. But you won't. Not because you're not enough, but because the game was rigged from the start. So what will you do now? Will you keep running, or will you stop? Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to stop. To stop chasing, stop proving, stop bending yourself into shapes that don't fit your soul. Imagine standing still and letting the world catch up to you for once. Imagine reclaiming your time, your energy, your life. Because the truth is, the moment you stop running after them, the moment you stop trying to earn what is already yours, they will notice. They will feel the absence of your energy, the weight of your silence, the power of your stillness, and it will terrify them. Because when you stop chasing, you start becoming. This is your moment. The moment you decide that your worth isn't tied to their approval. The moment you take back everything you've given away and plant it firmly in your own foundation. The moment you remember that the only validation you need is the kind that comes from within. So, tell me, are you ready to stop running? Are you ready to take the first step toward the life you deserve? The day you stop chasing is the day everything changes. And when they realize what they've lost, when they start regretting the way they overlooked you, you'll already be miles ahead, untouchable, unstoppable, and finally free. It begins now, with you. Do you know what it feels like to pour yourself into someone else, only to find them sipping from you without even a thank you? You give and you give until you're an empty vessel hollowed out by the weight of your own generosity. And yet they act as though you owe them more. You've been the rock that others lean on, but who catches you when you crumble? You've been the light in dark rooms, but who notices when your flame begins to flicker? Think about it. How many times have you stayed silent to keep the peace? How often have you shrunk yourself just to fit into spaces that were too small for your dreams? How long have you been running, trying to catch up to a version of yourself that someone else told you was acceptable? You've been chasing approval, chasing love, chasing recognition. But the more you chase, the farther it seems to slip away. The truth is, they never valued you. Not the real you. They saw what you could do for them. They saw how you made their lives easier, how you bent over backward to keep their world spinning. But when was the last time someone asked you what you needed? When was the last time someone poured into you with the same care and effort you've poured into them? You've been chasing love, haven't you? That deep, unconditional love you were told you'd find if you just became enough. I knew it was over when I felt the first time someone said to Meeker, but these kinds of saving human beings, that's not what you are. But every time you thought you'd found it, it slipped through your fingers like sand. Because love, when it's conditional, is nothing more than control disguised as care. They loved you when you did what they wanted, when you fit the mold they created for you. But the moment you stepped out of line, the moment you dared to ask for more, their love turned cold. And then there's society. Oh, society loves to tell you who you should be. It whispers in your ear from the moment you're born. Be this, do that, don't be too much, but don't be too little either. It's a constant push and pull, a race where the finish line keeps moving. Demonize them from the start. It's a mantra that groomed uses from a childhood ritual. Society tells you to be successful but not intimidating, strong but not aggressive, kind but not weak. And if you fall short, if you can't keep up with its impossible standards, you're left with nothing but shame. And let's not forget the villain inside you, that voice in your head, the one that whispers, you're not good enough. You know the one I'm talking about. It creeps in when you're alone, replaying every mistake you've ever made, every rejection you've ever faced. It feeds on your fears and insecurities, convincing you that if you just tried harder, you'd finally be worthy. It tells you that the reason they don't love you, the reason they don't respect you, is because of something you lack. That voice, it's a liar, but it's so convincing, isn't it? Especially when it's echoed by the people around you. You've been told directly or indirectly that your value is tied to what you can do for others, that your worth is measured by how much you can endure, how well you can please, how small you can make yourself to fit into their world. And it's killing your spirit. Chasing approval is like running a marathon with no end. You push yourself mile after mile, thinking that the finish line is just around the corner. But when you get there, it's not. It's moved. Farther, always farther, and you keep running, your legs burning, your chest heaving, until you're not running anymore, you're crawling, and still, you don't stop because you think that if you do, you'll lose everything. But here's the thing, they never gave you anything to begin with. They took, and they made you believe that their crumbs were a feast. They made you believe that you should be grateful for the bare minimum because that's all you deserved. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe it too. They undervalued you, they made you small, they saw your kindness and mistook it for weakness. They saw your patience and thought it meant they could take their time. They saw your love and treated it like a guarantee, something they didn't have to work for or cherish. And because you didn't want to lose them, because you didn't want to be alone, you accepted it. You told yourself it was enough, even though deep down you knew it wasn't. But let me tell you something. You are not small, you are not weak, you are not the sum of what they've taken from you. Think of the ocean. It doesn't chase the shore. It doesn't beg the waves to stay. It simply exists, vast and powerful, knowing that is enough just as it is. That's you. That's who you were before they convinced you otherwise. So why are you running? Why are you chasing people who don't see your worth? Why are you bending over backward for a world that wouldn't blink if you broke? Why are you listening to a society that profits from your insecurities? Stop. Look around you. Look within you. You've spent so much time chasing that you've forgotten how to stand still. You've forgotten how to anchor yourself, to plant your feet firmly on the ground and say, this is who I am, and I am enough. You've let them make you small, but they can only do that if you let them. Because here's the truth. They undervalued you because they were too small to see your greatness. They made you feel small because they were threatened by the enormity of your potential. They kept you running because they knew that if you ever stopped, you'd realize just how powerful you are. And that terrifies them. But let me ask you this. How much longer are you going to let their fear dictate your life? How much longer are you going to carry the weight of their expectations on your shoulders? How much longer are you going to chase a love, a validation, a worth that was already yours to begin with? It's time to let go. It's time to stop running. It's time to remind yourself of who you are. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you decide to reclaim your power, everything changes. They'll see it, they'll feel it, and they'll regret the day they ever made you doubt your worth. What happens if you don't stop? If you keep running, keep chasing, keep sacrificing yourself on the altar of their approval? Let's paint the picture together. It's not pretty, but you need to see it for what it is. Imagine waking up every day with the same heavy weight pressing down on your chest. It's the weight of unmet expectations, of dreams deferred and desires ignored. You roll out of bed, but you're not really awake. You're moving on autopilot, a ghost of who you once were. Your mind whispers, maybe today will be different. But deep down, you know it won't be. You've been here before. You've seen the same faces, heard the same empty promises. You've poured your energy into people who take it without a second thought. And every time you think you've hit rock bottom, the floor gives way and you fall deeper. This is what happens when you stay on this path. You become a shell of yourself, a body moving through life without a soul. Your passions dim, your laughter fades, and the world loses its color. You become numb, not because you want to be, but because it's the only way to survive. The pain of rejection, of feeling invisible, of constantly giving without receiving is too much to bear. So, you shut it out. You build walls around your heart, but those walls trap you as much as they protect you. You've been running, but where has it gotten you? You've been chasing, but what have you caught? Look at your hands, empty. Look at your soul, exhausted. Look at your heart, bruised and bleeding. This is the toll it takes, this endless pursuit of validation. It's like carrying a boulder that gets heavier with every step. At first, you think you can manage it. You tell yourself it's worth it, that the reward at the end will make the struggle worthwhile. But the farther you go, the more it weighs you down. Your knees buckle, your back aches, and still, you keep going, because you've convinced yourself there's no other option. But here's the thing, there is no finish line. There's no moment where they suddenly see your worth and give you the love and respect you've been chasing. The boulder only gets heavier, the journey more treacherous, until one day, you collapse under the weight of it all. And then what? What's left of you when you've given everything and received nothing? What's left of your spirit when it's been crushed under the weight of rejection and indifference? Senior year made, by this year's bracket, the class dissolves. With all of this burden to carry, what was the normality of the day-to-day life? You start to believe the lies. You start to believe that you're not enough, that you'll never be enough, that the problem isn't them, it's you. You tell yourself that if you were just a little better, a little smarter, a little prettier, a little more successful, they would finally see you. You internalize their rejection as proof of your inadequacy, and that's how they win. That's how the cycle continues. But let me ask you something. What if the problem isn't you? What if the reason they don't see your worth is because they're blind to anything that doesn't serve them? What if the reason they don't give you the love you deserve is because they're incapable of giving it? You've spent so much time trying to fix yourself, trying to mold yourself into what they want. But what if you were never the one who needed fixing? What if the problem was never you? Sit with that for a moment. Now, let's talk about exhaustion. Not just the kind that sleep can cure, but the kind that seeps into your bones, your soul, your very being. The kind of exhaustion that comes from giving too much of yourself for too long. The kind that makes you feel like you're drowning, like every breath is a struggle. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been fighting a battle that was never yours to fight. You've been trying to earn love from people who don't even know how to love themselves. You've been chasing approval from a world that thrives on making you feel inadequate. And it's breaking you. You feel hopeless, don't you? Like no matter what you do, it will never be enough. Like you're trapped in a cycle you can't escape. But here's the truth. You're not trapped. You're not powerless. It only feels that way because you've forgotten who you are. You've forgotten your strength. You've forgotten your worth. But I see it. Even in your despair, even in your exhaustion, I see the spark that hasn't gone out. It's small, yes, but it's there. It's the part of you that knows you were meant for more than this. It's the part of you that's tired of running, tired of chasing, tired of sacrificing. It's the part of you that's ready to rise. But first, you have to face the reality of where you are. You have to acknowledge the pain, the rejection, the exhaustion. You have to let yourself feel it, not to wallow in it, but to understand it, because only then can you begin to change. This is the crossroads. You can keep going down this path, carrying the boulder, running the endless race, chasing people who will never see you. Or you can stop. You can lay the boulder down, step off the track, and reclaim your power. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it feels impossible. But the alternative? The alternative is a life of despair. A life where you give and give until there's nothing left of you. Is that what you want? Is that the legacy you want to leave behind? Or are you ready to fight for yourself, to stand up and say, enough? Because the truth is, the only thing standing between you and the life you deserve is the decision to stop chasing and start becoming. And when you make that decision, when you take that first step, everything will begin to change. Let me tell you something you may not believe yet, but it's the truth. You don't need to chase anyone or anything to find your worth. Stop for a moment and think about that. Let it sink in. Every ounce of energy you've spent running after people, proving your value, earning their approval, it was never necessary. Because your worth isn't something that can be given by others. It isn't something they can validate or deny. Your worth was written into your very being the moment you took your first breath. It was yours then, it's yours now, and it always will be. You've been chasing shadows, but you are the light. You've been running as if your worth is some distant treasure buried at the end of a journey. But what if I told you that you've had the treasure all along? It's inside you, waiting to be uncovered, waiting for you to stop running long enough to see it. Close your eyes and imagine this. You are the storm they feared, the fire they tried to douse, the mountain they thought they could move. They underestimated you because they never truly saw you. But that doesn't matter anymore, because now it's time for you to see yourself. What if you stopped running and started building? What if, instead of chasing, you took all that energy, all that passion, and poured it into yourself? What if you stopped trying to fit into their mold and started shaping your own destiny? Imagine what you could create if you stopped letting their opinions define you. Imagine the power you could unleash if you focused on becoming the person you were always meant to be. Because here's the thing, they didn't break you. They tried, yes. They pushed you, pulled you, twisted you into knots, but you're still here. And if you're still here, that means you're still standing. That means there's a strength inside you that not even the weight of their rejection could crush. That strength is your foundation. It's the part of you that refused to give up even when the world told you to. It's the part of you that kept going, kept hoping, kept believing in something better. And now, it's time to build on that foundation. You've been told that your worth is tied to what you do for others, to how well you can please, to how much you can give. But your worth isn't transactional. It's intrinsic, it's unshakable. And the moment you realize that, the moment you own it, everything will change. Let's talk about transformation. Think about a caterpillar. It doesn't chase the butterfly it's meant to become. It simply does the work. It weaves its cocoon, it goes inward, and it transforms. It doesn't ask for permission, it doesn't seek validation, it just becomes. You are the same. You don't need their approval to transform. You don't need their permission to rise. You just need to turn inward, to do the work, and to trust the process. You are the storm they feared, the fire they tried to douse. They saw your potential even if you didn't. They saw your strength, your resilience, your ability to rise again and again, and it scared them. So they tried to keep you small. They tried to convince you that you needed them, that without their validation you were nothing. But they were wrong. Because here you are, still standing. Here you are, ready to rise. Now is the time to reflect. What if you stopped waiting for them to see your worth and started seeing it yourself? What if you stopped chasing their approval and started building your dreams? What if you stopped running from your fears and started facing them head on? The truth is, everything you've been searching for out there already exists within you. The love, the strength, the power. It's been there all along, waiting for you to claim it. So, let's claim it. Let's build. Let's rise. Start with what you have. Start with where you are. Take all the pain, all the rejection, all the heartbreak, and turn it into fuel. Use it to light the fire within you. The fire that they tried to extinguish but couldn't. Because here's the truth. Your pain isn't your weakness. It's your power. Your scars aren't a sign of defeat. They're a testament to your survival. You've been through the fire and you've come out stronger. It's time to unleash that strength. It's time to stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop apologizing for who you are. It's time to stand tall, to take up space, to own your power. You are not their victim. You are not their project. You are not their shadow. You are the storm, the fire, the mountain. You are unstoppable, unbreakable, undeniable. So, what will you do now? Will you keep running, or will you start becoming? Will you keep chasing, or will you start building? This is your moment. The world has tried to dim your light, but it's still shining. The world has tried to break, and now it's time for you to rise. Take a deep breath. Feel the power within you. It's been there all along, waiting for you to notice it. Now, take that power and use it. Build something beautiful. Build something unshakable. Build something that no one can ever take away. Because the moment you stop chasing and start building, you become unstoppable. And when they see you standing tall, unbothered, unshaken, they will regret the day they ever doubted you. This is it. The moment everything changes. For so long, you've believed the lies they told you. You believed you weren't enough. You believed you had to run, to chase, to prove yourself. But right here, right now, I'm asking you to stop, to stand still, to look in the mirror and see the truth. They didn't break you. They forged you. Do you understand the power in that statement? Every rejection, every disappointment, every tear, they weren't signs of your weakness. They were the fires of your transformation. They weren't the end of your story. They were the beginning of your becoming. They thought they could bury you, but they forgot that seeds grow in the dark. They forgot that pressure creates diamonds. They forgot that storms don't destroy mountains. They carve them into something breathtaking. And now you are here, standing on the edge of revelation, ready to rise into the person you were always meant to be. But let's confront the villain first. Let's talk about the voices in your head, the ones that told you to keep chasing, the ones that whispered, you're not good enough, you'll never be enough, you need them to validate you. Those voices, they were never yours to begin with. They were planted there by a world that profits from your insecurity, by people who were too blind to see your brilliance. So let me ask you, why do you need their approval? Who told you that your worth is tied to their opinions? Who decided that their validation was the key to your happiness? It wasn't you. And if it wasn't you, then why are you living your life according to their rules? Why are you letting their blindness dictate your brilliance? Why are you chasing people who wouldn't recognize your worth if it stared them in the face? Let's flip the narrative. What if, instead of chasing them, you let them chase you? This is the moment to break out of your minds the sore deceptions and perhaps the rules of a 60-40, the bubble that escaped them to tell you you're not alone when you're trying to control everything. When holding on is the perfect thing to do. What if instead of proving your value, you stood firm in the truth of it? What if you stopped running, stopped bending, stopped sacrificing, and simply existed as you are? Unapologetically, undeniably, unbreakably. Because here's the truth, they don't want you to know. Your worth has never depended on them. It has never been tied to their approval or their love or their recognition. Your worth is yours. It's inherent, unshakable, eternal. You are not a question waiting to be answered by someone else. You are the answer. They didn't break you, they forged you. Every time they doubted you, they sharpened your edge. Maybe they'll surprise you again, but remember, what they want is coming your way. Only the sort of moves that lie in their hour. Every time they underestimated you, they added to your strength. Every time they tried to hold you back, they gave you the resistance you needed to push forward. And now, you're unstoppable. Can you feel it? That shift inside you, that awakening? It's the realization that you don't need them. You never did. The love you've been chasing, it's already within you. The approval you've been seeking, it's been waiting for you to give it to yourself. Miss America. So why keep running? Why keep chasing people who don't deserve you? Think about it. Imagine what happens when you stop. When you take all the energy you've been pouring into them and pour it into yourself. When you stop trying to prove your worth and start living it. Do you know what will happen? They'll notice. Oh, they'll notice. They'll feel the absence of your energy, your light, your presence. They'll realize that the very thing they took for granted was the thing they needed most. And when they turn around to find you, you won't be there because you'll be too busy building the life you deserve. And they will regret it. They will regret the way they overlooked you. So, they will regret the way they doubted you. They will regret the day they thought they could live without you. But by then it won't matter because you'll finally see what they never could. You were never chasing them, you were chasing yourself. And now, you've found you. So let's turn this pain into power. Let's turn this rejection into redirection. Let's turn this moment into the catalyst for your transformation. Ask yourself, who am I when I stop running? Who am I when I stop chasing people who don't see me? Who am I when I claim my worth and refuse to settle for less? I'll tell you who you are. You are the storm they feared, the fire they tried to douse, the mountain they couldn't move. You are unbreakable, undeniable, unstoppable. You are everything they didn't see but will never forget. And now, it's your time. Your time to rise. Your time to stand still and let the world catch up to you. Your time to stop chasing and start becoming. Because the moment you stop running is the moment you start soaring. And when they see you standing tall, untouchable in your power, they will regret the day they didn't see your worth. But you won't care anymore, because you'll finally know what you've always known deep down. You were always enough. So, rise, build, become, and let them watch as you turn your pain into power, your scars into armor, your story into a legacy. This is your turning point. This is your revelation. This is the day you stop chasing and they start regretting. Now is the time to act. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Everything you've heard so far, everything you've felt, everything that's been stirred inside you, it's all building to this moment. The moment where you stop dreaming about change and start creating it. The moment you stop waiting for permission and start taking what's yours. You've carried your scars, your pain, and your disappointments for far too long, but here's the truth. They don't define you. They shape you, yes. They teach you, yes. But they are not the sum of who you are. Your scars are proof of your survival. Your struggles are the foundation of your strength. And now, it's time to use them. Here's where you begin. Step 1. Cut the ties that drain you. You know who they are. The people who take without giving, who make you feel small, who diminish your light. You've held on to them because you thought you needed them, but now you know better. You don't need anyone who makes you feel less than you are. Let them go. It will hurt, yes, but sometimes the most painful goodbyes are the ones that set you free. Step 2, set boundaries and hold them. Your time, your energy, your heart, they are not infinite. Stop giving them away so freely to people who don't value them. Set boundaries and don't apologize for them. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. Saying no is an act of self-love. Step 3, focus on self-growth. Pour into yourself the way you've poured into others. Invest in your dreams, your passions, your health, your happiness. Learn something new. Take up a hobby. Build the life you've been putting on hold while you chased validation. This is your time to grow, to evolve, to become the person you've always wanted to be. Step 4, reframe your scars and struggles. Look at your scars, not with shame but with pride. Each one tells a story of resilience, of strength, of triumph. They are not signs of weakness, they are badges of honor. And your struggles, they are not obstacles, they are stepping stones. They've brought you here, to this moment, to this awakening. Step 5, own your power. No more shrinking, no more apologizing, no more playing small to make others comfortable. You are powerful beyond measure, and it's time the world sees it. Speak your truth, take up space, walk through life with the confidence of someone who knows they are enough, because you are enough. You always have been. You just forgot for a little while. But now, there's no going back. Now you know that your worth isn't tied to what you do for others or how they see you. Your worth is yours, and no one can take it away. So, here's my challenge to you. Start now. Make the first move. Take the first step. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be yours. Maybe it's saying no to someone who's been taking advantage of you. Maybe it's signing up for that class you've always wanted to take. Maybe it's sitting down with yourself and asking, what do I want? Who do I want to be? Whatever it is, do it now. Don't let another day go by where you put yourself last. Don't let another moment pass where you doubt your worth. This is your life, claim it. And let me tell you something else. When you start living for yourself, when you stop chasing and start building, people will notice. The ones who truly care will cheer you on. The ones who don't will fall away, and that's okay, because you're not living for them anymore. You're living for you. They'll regret the way they treated you. They'll regret the way they doubted you, but you won't care, because by then you'll have built something so beautiful, so unshakable, that their regrets will be nothing more than whispers in the wind. You'll be too busy thriving. Shh. So, rise, stand tall, take that first step and then another and another. Build the life you deserve. Become the person you were always meant to be. And when you look back on this moment, you'll see it for what it truly is, the moment everything changed. This is your rallying cry. No one else is coming to save you. No one else is going to hand you your worth, but you don't need them to, because you've had the power all along. You've had the strength, the resilience, the brilliance. It's your time. Your time to rise, your time to shine, your time to stop chasing and start becoming. Let them regret, let them watch, let them wish they had treated you better. But you'll be too far ahead, too free, too full of life to even notice. Go, build, become, and never ever look back.